Can changing our diet really help us manage our MS and its symptoms? Yes. In today's video, I'm going to share tips on how to make changes to our diets that will help us be healthier and help us to manage our MS symptoms too. I love the change of seasons. It always reminds me that change is good and new things can happen, that renewal and reinvention are always possible. Hello, my dear friends, and welcome. So let's start with why we should make changes to our diets. Although modern medicine has made some great advances in creating disease-modifying treatments for MS, they are for preventing progression. That's it. That's their only job, is to prevent progression. Making changes to our diet may help us to manage and reduce our symptoms and possibly reduce progression as well. So let's talk about food, more specifically junk food. Junk food can transform our health in a bad way. When we feed our bodies foods full of highly processed ingredients that include things like sugar, white flour, artificial flavors, artificial colors, preservatives, hormones, antibiotics, and pesticides, it can have a profoundly negative effect on us and our immune systems. When our bodies are trying to process all of these junk food ingredients and all of these additives, it can increase fatigue, increase inflammation, increase our risk of obesity, and increase our risk of comorbid conditions like heart disease, hypertension, cancer, and diabetes. And having comorbid conditions can lead to worsening of our MS, its symptoms, and worsening of disability. The other negative impact of eating junk foods is that when we fill up on these foods, it crowds out good foods, and we risk decreasing our intake of important nutrients and vitamins like the B complex vitamins, including B12, B6, B1, and B2, flavonoids, omega-3 fatty acids, and choline, all of which promote nerve health. And we also may not get enough sulforaphane, fiber, protein, iron, copper, magnesium, manganese, zinc, and phosphorus. And all of these promote brain health. And we definitely want to keep our brains healthy, right? Moving towards a more whole food, plant-based diet will help crowd out the junk food, but it can be hard to do all at once, right? One way to ease into this is to start to reduce the junk food ingredients that may be causing us problems. Reading labels can really help. Here are a few examples. Here's a typical ingredient list for peanut butter. That's 16 ingredients. Some of them are very inflammatory, like sugar and hydrogenated oils. Compare that to this peanut butter. Just 2 ingredients, peanuts and salt, and nothing we can't pronounce, and nothing that we don't recognize as food. The second option is an easy swap to reduce some of the ingredients that could possibly be doing us harm. Here's another one. Take these salsa verde chips. 23 ingredients, including corn syrup and 3 different artificial colors that may cause inflammation, compared to these corn chips. Corn, oil, and salt. 3 ingredients. Again, we know what they all are. I am not saying that these corn chips are necessarily a health food, but they are certainly a step up from many of the flavored chips out there. Add some flavor in the form of healthy dips like salsa or guacamole. Okay, one more. These peanut butter cups. 13 ingredients, including inflammatory ingredients like sugar and the preservative TBHQ. This preservative modulates the immune response to respiratory viruses like the flu, and not in a good way. Instead, try this, one of my favorite treats. Dates with just a smear of peanut butter. They're so delicious, they're chewy and sweet, and they satisfy my craving for candy. Another good option for snacks is Larabars. They have minimal ingredients and they're made from whole, real foods. And I will put links in the description below if you'd like to check them out. My rule of thumb when I'm buying packaged foods is to try to keep the ingredients to 3 or less if I can. Okay, so we're working on decreasing the highly processed junk foods and decreasing the additives and preservatives, but we also need to increase the healthy foods. Increasing the healthy foods will help our bodies be healthier overall, and eating a more plant-based diet that's naturally low in saturated fat has shown to improve fatigue, one of the most troubling symptoms of MS and chronic illness, and other symptoms as well. From the research of Dr. Roy Swank, it was reported that people with MS who followed a low saturated fat diet with the goal of less than 20 grams of saturated fat per day had better outcomes overall and showed improvements in energy and fatigue levels. In the Holism study, one of the largest lifestyle databases in the world, it showed participants who followed the Overcoming MS program, including a whole food plant-based diet plus fish, and engaged with their resources, had 1/3 the risk of fatigue. 1/3. And not only that, they had better physical and mental quality of life and 1/10 the risk of depression. And in this study, that was a randomized control trial of low-fat plant-based diet in multiple sclerosis, they found that participants showed significant improvements in measures of fatigue, BMI, and metabolic biomarkers. Okay, this is pretty amazing stuff. Eating a more plant-based diet that is low in saturated fats can help with our symptom management. We can have more energy, less fatigue, less depression, and less comorbid conditions. And there's more good news. Eating an anti-inflammatory diet can help reduce pain. Nutrition that supports a diet rich in anti-inflammatory foods is the key to anti-inflammation and chronic pain management. Not only that, but there's ongoing research into the gut microbiome and how the immune system works. In this paper in The Lancet, they include the suggestion that the infections that start in the gut can spread to the central nervous system, and changes in the gut microbiome could also be risk factors for the onset of multiple sclerosis. We can improve our gut microbiome by, you guessed it, eating more plants. In Dr. Will Bulsiewitz's book, Fiber Fueled, which I highly recommend and will link below, he shares that plant protein increases the growth of anti-inflammatory species in our gut microbiome. MS is an inflammatory disease, so reducing inflammation is kind of important to us. One of the other ways that the plant-based diet helps our gut microbiome is that we get healthier from all the fiber in the plants that we eat. When this fiber gets into our colon, it produces short-chain fatty acids that are thought to play a key role in neuroimmunoendocrine regulation. It helps our bellies be happier. Dr. Bulsiewicz recommends eating 30 different kinds of plants a week. Yeah, I know, it sounds like a lot, but it can be done very easily. I'll put a link above and in the description below to one of my videos that does a deeper dive into the gut microbiome and shows how easy it is to get 30 different kinds of plants into our diet each week. My next tip is, what gets measured gets managed. I encourage you to write down what you're eating and review it at least once a week while you're transitioning to a diet that's more whole food plant-based. You might be surprised at how many processed foods and high saturated fat foods are in our diets. Keeping a log of food is also a great way to spot trends that might be affecting our symptoms. For example, if we tend to feel terrible every Monday and then we look back at our food log and see that every weekend we're eating more fast food or indulging in more sweets, it can help us to change our habits and help our symptoms. There are some great apps out there that can help us track our foods, like MyFitnessPal and Chronometer, and I will put links in the description below to both of those. But you can use a simple spreadsheet or even a paper and pencil. If you do start to track your food, or if you're already tracking your food, let me know in the comments below how it helps you. Changing our diets can be a challenge for sure, but I encourage you to start taking steps towards a more whole food plant-based diet. The science shows it can reduce fatigue, increase energy, reduce the risk for comorbid conditions and depression, reduce pain, increase the health of our gut microbiome, and support brain and nerve health. What have you got to lose? As always, I will put links to the papers and studies that I referenced in today's video in the description below if you'd like to check them out. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please like with a thumbs up and subscribe. And don't forget to sign up for my newsletter using the link below to get more tips and recipes. Until next time, be well.